Hey, what's going on guys, Grouch here. I know it's been a long time since I've made a video on Sword Art Online, however, since the start of the new series, I figured now would be as good a time as any to start bringing it back. Personally, I don't think the new series is all that bad, and I'm excited to see where the story ends up going. Let me know your guys' thoughts about it in the comments below. Real quickly before we get into today's video, I wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Amino. Amino is an app that allows users to join a number of different communities all at the click of a button. Whether you love anime, movies, music, sports, science, or just eating food, you get the idea. No matter what it is you love, you now have a place to interact with others who also share those similar interests. Like Sword Art Online? I'm sure you do. Well, Amino's got a community for that too. Begin talking to other fans from all around the world thanks to the great features such as voice and/or text chats, sharing thoughts and opinions by taking part in various polls, or sharing your fan art and theories for others to see, which is always awesome. Currently, I have a poll running over there over which character in the series is best girl, so if you want to partake in that and make your opinion heard, be sure to click the link in the description. Also, while you're there, you might as well follow me. First 10 followers will get a follow back. It's completely free, so hope to see you guys there. Now, on to the video. This is 10 references to Sword Art Online hidden in other works. Hope you guys enjoy. Number 1, Durarara. Durarara is definitely one anime that I would recommend to anyone looking to watch something a bit out of the ordinary. While you could argue the series has a single main character it focuses on, it honestly just feels like one giant story told from various different perspectives, focusing on things like friendship to street gangs to supernatural-like activities. Oh, and Izaya, you can't forget about him. But along with all this comes a number of anime references that are scattered throughout the series, which should come as no surprise as it's on this list and would be awkward otherwise. In fact, there are 3 different times the series makes a reference to Sword Art Online. I quickly want to mention that the arc/seasons for the show seem to vary depending on the different sites I visited, so rather than calling out the season and episode number like I usually do, I'm just going to refer to each episode by their title name. If I'm just dumb, then sorry, but I feel like it'd be easier this way. Going back on track, the first 2 references stem from the 2 otaku of the series, Erica and Walker. During the episode Rose Have Thorns, they could be spotted reading copies of the first Sword Art Online light novel. And in the episode A Picture is Worth 1,000 Words, Walker makes a small reference to SAO2, specifically mentioning Gun Gale Online and its main villain Death Gun. A third reference can also be found in the episode Life is But a Dream, during the scene that shows Seiji and Mika exiting a movie theater. As they are walking through, they pass a poster of Sinon from Sword Art Online 2, aka Sadashino. The first 2 were definitely a little more obvious, but I was surprised to learn about this one. I'm curious to know how many of you guys actually caught this during your watch through. Number 2, Eromanga Sensei. Now this series technically has a huge number of references to Sword Art Online, however a lot of them are more or less the same. The series follows main protagonist Izume Masamune, a 14-year-old author that is taking care of his younger stepsister, Izumi Sagiri, who is a bit of a shut-in. Throughout the series, Masamune frequently visits a local bookstore owned by the family of a friend, Tomoe Tagasago. This is where most of the references take place, as there are various books and posters that can be seen in the background, many of which are references to Sword Art Online. And I'm not even exaggerating here, they are in almost every episode. However, there are 2 others that are a bit unique. The first of which can be found in the very first episode. During one of Sagiri's live streams in which she is working under her alias name, she is showing off to her viewers her illustrations, many of which are pretty lewd, so you know she's definitely getting an audience. As she's wrapping things up, she stops and asks her chat what character they want to see drawn for her next live stream, and asks them to choose someone from a magazine. While not shown for super long, the magazine she holds up is a picture of all the female characters from Sword Art Online. The picture is also directly taken from one of the artworks created for the SAO movie Ordinal Scale. The second reference can be found a bit later in the series, specifically in episode 8. In this episode, Masamune is hosting a party at his house with a couple of his friends, all of which are writers. After a bit of snacking, they each begin taking turns talking about future goals relating to their works. When we get to the character Elf, or Emily for short, she talks about her dream of writing the ultimate light novel and conquering the world, mentioning that before she can do that, she must first defeat Dengeki Bunko, the publishing imprint associated with the company that publishes SAO. Throw in an over-exaggerated anime pose plus one Kirito cameo and you've got yourself a spot on this list. Number 3, Sakano. This series follows Tomoe Aki, a male high school teenager who works part-time in order to fund his otaku lifestyle. Aki wants to create his very own visual novel computer game and has put together a team to help him do it. And that's the series in a nutshell. We follow the group's adventures in developing the game and their plans for marketing it, etc, etc. Well, as we know, every company, or group I guess, needs a base of operations, which for this group of friends just happens to be Aki's room. As I mentioned before, he is a bit of an anime fanatic, owning all sorts of different manga, DVD, poster, figurines, etc, etc. Well, if you're observant, you may notice a couple of figurines that look a little familiar. That's right, it turns out that he's a pretty big fan of Sword Art Online, as a majority of his collection are of the female cast. From left to right, they are Leafa, Asuna from Alphine, Silica, and Asuna from SAO. A cool little nod for fans of the series, which can be seen time and time again throughout Sakano. A second reference can also be found in episode 9, as Aki is exploring Kami-Ket, an event created for those looking to sell their self-published works. We can see a number of cosplayers in the background, most of which, if not all, are references to other anime. I do know a couple of these characters, but since this video is mainly focusing on Sword Art Online, we got a Kirito. I'm gonna let you guys focus on the rest. Leave a comment down below, let me know who they are. Number 4, Oreimo 2. While I've never watched the series, I have heard quite a few things about it. And with that specific information, I don't think I ever will. But we're not here to talk about the series plot, just passing by hoping to point out a reference or two. The reference we're going to be looking at takes place in episode 4 of the series, where Kirino and Kyosuke take a friend, Ria Haguri, to visit Akihabara in Tokyo. For those who don't know, Akihabara is an area in Japan recognized for its influence of otaku culture, where both shops and restaurants create an atmosphere like that of a real-life anime world. Coming from someone who actually got to visit, I have to say it's pretty cool. Well, as you could have already guessed, where there is anime within an anime, there are bound to be anime references. Near the very end of their visit, we see a slideshow of the various things the city has to offer, from giant screens to maiden cafe workers to anime figurines on display. Trust me, this city loves their figurines. And wouldn't you guess it, the figurines we are shown are actually characters from Sword Art Online. I know, big shocker, right? Number 5, Cyberdimension Neptunia for Goddesses Online. Now, despite the name, it's really a single-player role-playing game available on the PS4, but it does have a multiplayer option, so I guess that's alright. However, the name does make a bit more sense when you start to look at the plot. The story follows a group of characters that were given early access to the newest installment of the popular MMO, For Goddesses Online, or 4GO for short, and basically follows their efforts to clearing the game. Yes, it's a game about a game. What does that sound like to you? From what I've found, this series likes to commonly make references to other games in anime, SAO of course being one of them. For starters, both stories share many similarities, but none that are direct references, I guess. However, there are a few characters that you meet along the way that are kinda familiar. In 4GO, there's an NPC named Kirio, which, while not related to the story, is still an interesting character. Occasionally, when you do run into him, you'll find him carrying 2 swords and wearing all black. And if you hover over his character, he'll tell you that he is a man who has survived death several times, as well as being a solo player. If you encounter him near the end of the game, he'll tell you that he's willing to fight you only when you clear the 75th floor, which I don't think is a real thing in this game. You also learn from playing the game that Kirio is a character known for using dual blades. All of these things, of course, are clear references to Kirito's character from SAO. Still don't believe me? Well, there is another character by the name of Asuka, and you guessed it, she is a reference to Asuna. Their appearance look very similar, with Asuka's outfit being almost exactly like the Knights of the Blood Oath outfit worn by Asuna in Sword Art Online. She also mentions that she carries a rapier just like Asuna. There are a couple of other references here and there, but I think you guys get the point. When you want to make your own game, just be sure to rip off a bunch of other series to get people talking. Number 6, Log Horizon. Honestly, with how similar the two series are, it shouldn't come as a huge surprise that a reference to SAO made its way into the anime. The reference we want to look at can be found in episode 23 and is actually super quick, so any fans who are bashing their heads against their keyboards because they somehow missed it, don't beat yourself up too badly. Near the mid of the episode, we are shown the inside of a restaurant where Nyanta and Sira are grabbing a bite. The atmosphere is pretty lively and it appears as though everyone is having a good time. Up until one of the waitresses accidentally spills a drink on a customer, which results in a big scene. Eventually others around begin to stand up for the waitress and the man causing trouble is forcefully escorted out. Did you catch the reference? Well, when we first see the bar, hidden among the crowd is an elf-looking girl with black hair. It isn't until you take the time to stop and realize that this girl very strongly resembles Leafa from SAO, just with a color swap. And with these now dull colors that blend in super easily, it's no wonder many people missed it their first time around. Number 7, my first girlfriend is a gal. In this series, we follow a high school student named Junoichi, a boy that is forced to watch all his classmates around him couple up, leaving him in a circle without any girls. Eventually, his friends put him up to ask out a girl named Yukana, and by some miracle, she ends up saying yes. So, in a nutshell, this series is about him trying to get laid. Truly a can't miss anime experience with loads of life lessons, I'm sure. Well, maybe if you're trying to learn how not to do things, as that's basically what you get. Episode 6, being a prime example. In this episode, Junoichi successfully sets up plans to go over to Yukana's house after school. However, he immediately goes wrong by inviting over a bunch of his friends, and the whole thing instead becomes more of a kickback. It wasn't until he arrived that he realizes Yukana's parents weren't even home, and he has missed out on a chance to be alone. Ouch. If that wasn't bad enough, his suffering continues once his friends show up, and things begin to get a bit more hectic. All I'm saying, if I was hanging out with a bunch of girls and my friends show up like this, I'd probably walk out. Number 8, Joshiraku. Okay, so this series I'm gonna just breeze through because to tell you the truth, I'm not exactly too sure what to tell you about it, aside from the fact that there's a reference within it. Honestly, in all the research I've done across the various different videos I've made for this series, this anime has to be the one that's given me the most trouble to talk about. This series follows the everyday life of a group of roommates, all of whom are comedians. You got that? Because that's literally all I have. There really wasn't much online for me to go off of, and just finding the episodes were proving pretty difficult. Especially the OVA, which had limited distribution, and is the episode that had the reference. Luckily, after no joke about an hour surfing through some sketchy looking websites, I managed to find it, and I only had to deal with close to 10 good pop-up ads. I figured I could spend another hour trying to look more into it, but I think I'm just gonna skip that part as, to be honest, I'm kind of over it. The perks of being an anime YouTuber with the freedom to upload whatever you want. Number 9, Ready Player One. Now this one may come as a surprise to some of you as this is the only non-anime related entry on this list. I mean, I guess 4GO technically isn't an anime, but come on. However, if you did watch the movie, you may remember that it had a lot of Easter eggs and references to both video games and even some anime. Well, first, let's just quickly go over the plot of the movie. The year is 2045, and much of humanity uses the virtual reality software Oasis to escape the desolation of the real world. Our protagonist, Wade Wash, discovers clues of the hidden game within the program, which promises the winner full ownership of the Oasis. One scene in particular, found at the very end of the movie, really connects these two works together. And it is the scene where Wade beats the game and is awarded a golden egg by the game's creator, which mimics how Kirito was given the seed at the end of Sword Art Online by Akihiko Kaiba. Now, I don't know which of these series was first published, but given the fact that Ready Player One already has a ton of references scattered throughout the movie, plus the fact that it focuses on a giant virtual reality online game, it's not that hard to believe that this movie may have gotten some influence from Sword Art Online. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about this one down below. Number 10, Anime Guitarist. Now, what makes this show unique from your usual weekly series is the fact that it originally served solely as intermission for Toho Cinema's animated films at Shinjuku, Tokyo from 2015 to 2016. But I guess people really liked it as it eventually ended up getting its own television anime, which is something you don't really hear too often. The series in a nutshell is a slice of life anime which follows a number of characters in a newly created anime club. Need I say more? As we've already learned, when there is some sort of mention of anime within anime, there's most likely going to be some anime reference along the way. And this show is no exception. In episode 2, Mino and Arisu begin recruiting members for their new anime club and eventually manage to turn a few heads. When they return to the club's assigned room, they are surprised to see a new girl waiting for them, and a discussion about light novels starts up. As I'm sure you already know, Sword Art Online originally started out as an online web novel and then a light novel before getting a manga and anime adaptation. So it's not super surprising for it to get a mention during their conversation, with a minor tweak for copyright reasons. And that's the end of the video, guys, but before you go, I had one more reference I wanted to share with you, which can be found in the Sword Art Online anime itself. How can a series reference itself, you ask? Well, the reference isn't to the Sword Art Online anime, but instead one of its video games, and is hidden within the 3rd episode of the Gun Gale arc. Here, see if you can spot it for yourself. Did you catch it? Well, it's okay if you didn't, because it really only appears for a few short frames. Like, forget the LIFO reference, this one is 10 times harder to see. Not only is it short, but you can only see half of it, a poster with artwork from the cover of Sword Art Online, Hollow Realization. I found it really cool that this was hidden within the show, and I'm guessing not a lot of people really knew about it, so I figured I'd share it. But that's the real end of the video. Again, big thanks to Amina for always being a long-term supporter of not only my channel but other creators here on YouTube. Be sure to click the Amino app by clicking the link in the description. It's always a pleasure to work with such a great company. Do you know of any other Sword Art Online references I may have missed? If so, be sure to share it in a comment down below. But with that being said, guys, I will thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.